So if you're new, I'll do the same as what I did yesterday. So we did an hour's talk, and then we had a half an hour break, and then we did another hour. I just do a bit of an introduction in the beginning, and then you're welcome to ask questions if any come. This is not something that you can think your way into. Thinking arises in it, and thinking arises as it, but it's not that the thoughts will lead you to it. The same with any action or emotion or feeling or sensation. Everything that's moving is it, but not leading to it. That's a radical difference from what the person believes. The person believes that they're always being led to something. I'm on my way to liberation. I'm on my way to understanding this. I'm on my way to feeling this. And it's in no particular movement, but all movement. It's in no destination, but everything that appears. That is insanely beautiful. But, yeah, just insanely beautiful. It's in everything that appears, but not one particular appearance. This is the most intimate thing that has ever been. It's so close that the intellect, the thoughts, the person is always looking in the future, in the next moment. It can't possibly look at this because the person is moving, is trying to go forward, only exists in time. So everything is a reflection of this. Everything is this. Everything is screaming home. It's so intimate and impossible to see, but yet it is you. But not you as somebody that's moving. And what does that mean, somebody that's moving? I mean somebody in time. Because without time, who are you? Without the concept of time, who are you? But this. This is not a feeling, this is not a sensation, yet feelings and sensations appear in it. This is not an experience that's knowable, yet it is. It's absolute love, but not love for someone. anyone has any questions, you're more than welcome to ask it. Or ask them.
Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
We could just have it on without the volume on. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey.
There was something you were speaking of yesterday, several times actually, regarding when someone asked a question and you said to them, who's asking the question and who is listening. That was very poignant for me. I just wondered if you might clarify that a little bit.
I don't know if I could ever possibly clarify that.
Oh, well, let's say a little input on that.
Okay, a little input. So right now, there's sounds appearing, there's light appearing, there's breathing, there's warmth on skin, there's bum on seat, there's thoughts, emotions. There might be thoughts of, oh, I wouldn't mind a drink, should I get up and get a drink, or... And you think, or the belief is you are that person that's considering whether to get up and get a drink. And that's who most people walk around thinking they are, that activity, that energy that says, oh, should I get up and get a drink? I don't like this, I like this. Oh, I'll sit on this sofa. And later I'll go and visit my friend and da-da-da, and I'll stop and get a bagel. And most people feel like that's who they are. They are that energy. And that energy, although they don't understand it, is inside the body. They are the director of the body. Maybe not of the health of the body or the heart or the lungs and the organs of the body, but they direct the movement of the body. And they exist in time. They exist in what they did and what they're going to do. It's always about what they did or what they're going to do. And the energy gets so sucked into that, that feels like who you are, and it feels like it's inside the body somewhere. And that is the person watching out and experiencing life. But this is so amazing and so beautiful. That person is an experience, not the experiencer. That's insane. That's such a shift for the human. That is an experience. And then the question is, who experiences that then? The energy was so sucked into that, it really felt that was the experiencer, that was the observer, that was the one in relationship with life. But that appears, that is seen. Who sees that? This is the most profound question that's ever asked. Because before that, you were someone separate, living independently, apart from the world. But as this begins to be questioned, then separation begins to die. And then there's returning home. You never left home, your nature was always there, it's just the nature got sucked. It's not even the nature, it's just the energy got into a small position and felt like it was something else than what it was. So the question is who experiences that person that feels they exist? I can't answer that for anybody, but it seemingly gets chipped away, and then it's not even chipped away for someone, because who's it chipped away for? You were always the stillness, you were always the moment in which everything appeared, not the separate person that was moving in time. Time appeared here. This isn't a result of time. It's stunning, this. Because when it's really seen that you aren't the person that chooses to come here, or thinks it chooses to come here, or likes things or doesn't like things, then it's begin to be seen or become apparent that you are the boundlessness in which everything appears, including the character, including the body, including the light, and all space and division begins to collapse. The sound of my voice is the reflection of you, not you as the character, but you as boundlessness. This is how you know yourself, as boundlessness, as oneness. The sound of the voice. There's not somebody experiencing there. There's the sound of the voice in boundlessness. There's the light in boundlessness. There's the sounds in boundlessness. There's bum on seat in boundlessness. And the very appearance of all these apparent things is where you are, in everything that appears. Not in this illusory person that thinks it's the experiencer. It's radical. And this is so experiential. I really can't talk anybody intellectually into it. I was saying yesterday, I always thought this was going to be an intellectual realization. But the intellect is something that comes and goes. It's all about that directness. Who's experiencing, who's listening, who's hearing. It can't be the character. Because the character, the choices, the decisions, the past and future are experienced. They cannot be the experiencer. Who experiences them? I love this subject because as it becomes more and more apparent that you have always been the stillness, then absolute love reveals itself again.
Well, just a comment. Somehow I got a little started with, there was 2 trains, and I was starting to get a little uptight. So I'm sitting on the train, everything stopped.
You're what, sorry?
I'm sitting in the train.
Yeah.
Coming back, I don't know, 20 minutes to go, and I'm really starting to feel tense. So I said to myself, okay, that's what's happening. But I just stayed with that tenseness the whole time, and I just didn't worry or think too much about that I'm going to be late. And it just built up more and just built up more and just built up more, and I just stayed with it. Well, that's what's happening right now. I mean, I don't know, you know.
What would you have preferred?
Well, I would have preferred to leave a little earlier. I would have preferred that I had been able to sit back and relax and read my book I had in my little bag, rather than feeling tense,
Yeah.
watching every stop. And I didn't look at my watch, and I don't want to look at my watch. But I have to glance up at the subway's little sign they have, and it said 7:01. I was late, that's late. And I was about 5 stations away then. So once I started moving, I was okay. But when I was sitting there, there was this incredible tension. I think that's what you're talking about. I said, well, that's tension. I mean, that doesn't necessarily belong to me. At least I try to see it that way.
So what would you like, what would you like the experience to be?
Well,
Just in general, not necessarily then.
I don't quite understand the question.
What would you like things to be, to look like?
Oh,
Life.
You mean life in general?
Yeah.
Well, I would think a little more harmony and peace wouldn't hurt
Yeah.
for me. A little less stress, whatever you want to call it, that comes about in life's
Yeah.
life. I don't fantasize about blissed out all the time. That's like, not realistic, at least I don't think for me. I know that's not this teaching is not about that.
No.
No. But I would like to be able to get a greater grasp on the teachings.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to make it more practical, so to speak.
Practical in like something.
Well, in general,
in
practical,
living.
like I don't know if that was the practical thing to do, to sit with that tension in the subway, or obviously it's better than worrying.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking for methods.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
methods.
the greatest. What's the right word? Woe for the human. What would be the right word? Greatest tragedy for the human is the ability to think. It's also the greatest thing as well. But with your ability to think, and with the ability to see time more than animals, then there's the ability to wish for things to be different. And to have the idea that you wish you could have been less stressed, or it's such a full-on experience being a human. It's so clear here what the problem is. That you can never ever find solution in anything you think. Ever. Ever. Oh. I was like, toot, yes.
When you say a solution in anything you think, sometimes we have an issue, a problem that, you know, we think about it and, oh, well, that's the best choice to make, you know, that's sort of a solution.
Only practically, but it actually is not a solution. It's only a practicality that it helps with, but it doesn't make it doesn't make the human any happier. It feels like that would do if you could secure a nice home and have a certain amount in the bank and live off the interest. You could, have a driver in these situations or something, so somebody drives you places. That feels like a practical solution. But the ability to comprehend that is what's really screwed the human up. It feels like that's the greatest blessing. And in one way, it's a great blessing being able to think, because we can do so many great things. But the ability to think is also what leads to hell. So you will never, ever, ever, ever find a solution, only practically. There will only be a practical thing. You'll never find a solution in anything that you think or feel.
Feelings and emotions are in the same category, so to speak.
Yeah, they're all connected.
Yeah. Then what are we speaking of? But where do we find our
home? Where do we find home?
Home, I guess I'll use that word. I usually don't use it, but...
Oh, we can go for home. But where you find home is that... It toots every time it likes what I say. The only place you can find home is in what's happening. Is in what is. It's the only thing you've ever had, right? Have you ever not had this?
Body, speaking, consciousness, awareness, speaking body. You're talking about this. What are you referring to?
All of it. What is? Not the body. The body comes and goes.
Awareness of the world.
I don't know if there is actually awareness of this. We could say consciousness if that's the language you're used to.
I could go for being. I substitute those words around.
Yeah. So the only refuge is in what happens. But this is quite a huge step for the person, because the person's always been taught that refuge is in time. And time isn't what's here. I mean, it is in one sense, in the fact the ideas of time arise here. But time is the thing that's absent. Time is the thing that's absent. You never have time. We've been taught as human that freedom comes in time.
Maybe by working with our dharmic path, so to speak, we could talk
Yeah?
to,
Or money, or lovers.
yeah, or in other words,
But yeah, or
we
practice.
have a goal. So
Yeah. And this is so, in fact, to really hear this is, in a way, a death of something. So in that situation, the whole time when you were on the way, there was a comprehension in thought. So it was saying something along the lines of, I don't want to be stressed. Okay, there is nobody here. Who's experiencing the stress? And all of that appears in this. The person feels like the solution is in that circle. Is in that circle of of looking at the thought patterns or looking at the stress or comprehending that there's nobody there. But all of that's appearing in the actual freedom. None of it, though, indicates the freedom. None of it actually talks about the freedom. It's appearing in it.
then, is there a, I don't want to use the word method, but under that circumstances, is there another way to make it easier for the separate person?
Easier.
Well, I mean, I think I'm asking, for not a solution actually, but another approach. I'm hearing what you're saying,
Yeah.
But I still find it seems like you're saying it's not in that, but yet
That's what you
there's
feel
an
like you have.
experience of it. I mean,
Yeah.
the experience is happening, and it certainly feels like it's happening to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't start thinking about, well, like you just said, it's happening and
Yeah.
all of this.
It might make it better for the person to try and recondition the stories a bit. That might be helpful for the person. So something like Byron Katie, or that might make it better in the story. I'm not really sure of these different practices, but that might improve the person's stories about situations.
Well, I'm not asking for, to start another process somewhere or something like that. I'm just trying to stay with your teachings.
But it's okay to do both.
I know, I understand. I mean, I just say, I'm trying to recognize, I don't like the word tools even, but for lack of a word, it seems like almost for myself sometimes I feel just helpless. There's so many things that could be done, and then where do I turn? What do I do? Whatever. I meditate. That helps me. But to get to a place where you were speaking of, is happening in this greater awareness, I find that a little bit not confusing, but
Abstract. It's totally
sort of
abstract to the person.
It's sort of like I believe it, but it's sort of like, ooh, it's like really, how many years you got to do to get there to that space, how many workshops, how many CDs, how many whatever, or some people like, we've discussed, I've heard discussed, just, it's like second nature, like this autism person that you were mentioning yesterday. They were already in that space. I don't know what I'm saying now.
It's just
I'm rambling on.
No, you're not rambling on. Your energy's coming out.
Yeah, I'm just rambling on because I have some clear insights every now and then. Very clear from you, from my word. on the computer, on the web.
But there's just, you think that you're rambling on actually. What I see is when you take the lid off a bottle that's been shaken.
Say it again.
When you take the lid off a bottle of fizzy drink that's been shaken, you look at it logically. I don't look at it logically like that. I see it as a bottle, and then what happened in the person is they try to think of all these excuses, and they look again and go around and round in a circle, and it's just energy coming out. And it's being absolutely dissolved in stillness now. And it's being absolutely dissolved in stillness now. But the person still looks for a method.
Yeah, I mean, well, you see that. You see what you just said. It's being dissolved into stillness. That to me is abstract.
Oh yeah.
For me, I mean,
Yeah.
I
For the
don't
Phillips,
have
yeah.
no concept of that
Yeah.
happening.
Yep.
Not denying it's happening, but
Yeah.
I just don't have no concept of it happening.
Yeah.
It may be because I feel lighter, or it is, but I don't see no. How should I say it? Well, I reach a point sometime where it seems like a fine line where I get up to this particular fine line, but I just can't seem to get over it.
Just because you will never get over it.
I'm sorry?
Because you, the person, can never get over it.
Yeah, I've been trying to incorporate that. Incorporate that concept into the whole stick here, but even with that, we have to use words, and we have to,
No, but you really, this isn't me just using words. So it's like, you think the person in the film can step outside the film?
No.
You will really never be able to get out of it.
No, I recognize the fact that I'm sort of not who I think I am.
But you see, that recognition makes no difference.
It doesn't.
Because that's a person moving. It doesn't make any difference. You think that you're listening to me intellectually and that you're understanding non-duality intellectually. But right now, what's happening? Right now, what's happening? Who's looking at Lisa?
Well, I mean, there's a happening.
And who's looking? This has got to be experiential.
Looking is happening.
Is that experiential?
I think so.
So looking's happening, and then who's looking?
That's a tricky one.
Where's the position of that person?
I'm sorry?
Where's the position of the looker?
Well, that question could be answered in two ways. I could say, well, I'm sitting here, or I could say, well, it's just happening someplace.
And what's the experience?
I really can't define it to be an experience necessarily. I think I'm going too much into my head.
Well, okay, yeah. Because you can't find it in thoughts.
Yeah. No, I know that.
In the looking, in the very instant of the looking, there is perfect, brilliant stillness. In the sight of Lisa, it's not even the sight, in the appearance of all this, there is the most absent stillness. The most empty stillness, and it's not something you think about. It's right here in the face of Lisa and the colour of the glasses. It's right here in the sounds, this absence, this emptiness. You can't think yourself into it though. You cannot get out of it. It's in the instant of what's happening. In the instant of bum on seat, the tastes, the smell. And it's always who is listening, who is feeling.
Hey, Lisa. All you were saying there just brought up like a billion things for me. So like register or remember all those questions. But
Do you think that you remember?
oh God. I don't know anything right now. But why? I guess one question that just really sticks out for me is why does if there is this if there's like a boundlessness or from the position of home, why does home forget itself?
It doesn't forget itself. It hasn't got the quality of forgetting.
Why does the person who was born forget where they came from?
They don't exist. They can't forget themselves. It can't happen. The quality of aliveness doesn't have the quality to forget. It is. But what it creates is somebody which thinks it isn't. It's so energetical, this stuff. You could just answer in silence.
So I'm not born, and I don't forget anything.
No, it hasn't got the quality. It creates forgetting.
Why does the creation of forgetting arise?
Well, I don't know. Because it can. Another one that popped up was, can a person with a mental, you guys mentioned something around mental illness, but can someone with a mental illness, I mean, I know we can't even grasp it intellectually, but can someone with like severe clinical depression ever hear this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they don't actually hear it.
Mm.
But with that appearance, yeah. With that cloud in the way. Mm-hmm. So who do you think asked those questions?
Dude with a beard.
Well, that's so abstract because that's not what you see.
Yeah.
You see the dude with the spiky blonde hair, or the puffy blonde hair.
Yeah, I was talking to your friend when I got in here, and you were asking me why or what like interests me in this whole sphere of things, and I feel like I always knew intuitively something along these lines. I always felt like time was a farce, and I kind of get intellectually certain ideas about the idea of me looking at you right now as the universe looking at itself at two different points or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or something put more eloquently, but there's it feels like I'm like in this weird halfway position or something where I'm like, I mean, I come up with these like I talk to myself like in my head in like just like the present tense for a while to try and condition myself to being like thinking is happening right now. Shane is wearing red right now. Shane is realizing that this is kind of awkward that the room is looking at him right now. This cup is empty right now. Right now. And sometimes I just I'm disappear for like a second. And I've had that disappearing thing happen when I've like watched a Tony Parsons video for a while. And I've just forgotten about what he's saying, and this is weird, like
Intimacy.
super duper intimacy happens, but it's weird because I know that that's popped up for a few times for me. I still try and reverse back into that.
Do you think it really popped up for you? Who is it that awakens?
Mm.
This is only answerable right here. It's not answerable on anything that I or Tony or any other non-duality speaker has taught you.
When I hear that, I want to say, I will totally do that next Tuesday. I'll just sleep a bit more. Yeah, I mean, it's very abstract. I hear that.
It's so
I don't know what
unabstract.
to do with that.
It's so unabstract. It's so direct.
Mm.
Who is looking? Who's experiencing this?
No one.
There's this intense stillness that's not positioned. It's everywhere. It's in the very sounds. It's in the sight, it's in the carpet, it's in the colour, it's in the edge of this, it's in the glitter. And it's intensely still and empty. It's everything that happens, it's that which is experiencing itself. The person isn't the experiencer. You are not experiencing. Shane is not experiencing. Shane is an experience. He's going, yeah, but.
Yeah, it's constantly doing that right now.
But that's okay. So yeah, but is moving. And then what is that appearing in but absolute stillness? And that absolute stillness is always who you've been.
Yeah, I get like a billion like weird anxious thoughts that are trying to push that back down.
Yeah.
And one of those thoughts is like, is this message a universal message across all teachers, like Rupert, Spira, and you? Are you guys all saying the same thing with a certain character that's like embedded in you guys? Or are you more right than him? Who should I be listening to more?
I think I'm the most right out of
That's good to know. But that's like such a like character thing, or a thing that comes up for me. I'm like,
yeah.
It's because I want to understand it even more intellectually, and I want to make sure I'm listening to the exact right thing.
I think that when I first started speaking, I spoke to this other guy that had been speaking for 20 years, and he said to me, "What do you think the best way to speak about non-duality is?" And I was like, I don't know. And then he laughed, and then he said, yeah, neither do I. 20 years. So, I don't know. The most honest answer, although there's never an honest answer, is always not about the speaker, not about who you're listening to. It's about that which it appears in. It's like screw Lisa, screw Rupert, screw Tony, screw all of us. Just give us your money. But so it's like this is what I don't even know when I say that but this is the most beautiful part about non-duality, is that my voice and your voice is appearing in the same beingness, as the same beingness. It doesn't matter if you're listening to the wrong teacher or the right teacher. There is no wrong teacher or right teacher. There is life, the energy of movement. And if you're listening to Rupert Spira, or maybe here everyone will be like, Eckhart Tolle. If you're listening to Eckhart Tolle, that's so divine, and the character will be so humbled. It will be boo-hooing Eckhart Tolle and sitting there on the Tony Parsons couch and He'll be so humbled. It'll get to the point where it's like, I don't know. He'll listen to Eckhart Tolle, Rupert, Edgeshenty, Tony, Lisa, anybody. And it really doesn't matter, because screw all of us. The only teacher, the only true thing is...
Alan Watts.
Oh, Alan Watts. is what's happening. I love it that there's so many different speakers around now. I love that.
Thank you.
It's going to all be okay now. Yes.
You drink the water of light.
The universe is coming.
Lisa,
Yeah.
when I hear you talk about the stillness, I can't help but relate it to something of a blank canvas. And if it all happens in stillness and it all is stillness, that's the way I see it. And then I will, whatever medium, paint or whatever, that's the happening, that's the moving, right? Can I keep that analogy of this empty canvas?
That's how most speakers speak about it. Like they call it the screen, which
Okay.
the film's projected on.
Same thing, yeah.
I see it. That's a nice analogy, but I also try to make it a little bit more intimate, to see that's projected on the screen and the screen are actually the same thing. I quite like the idea, although it's a little confusing, of light. So the light that's in the film, like light is perfectly still. It's only like a light beam is still, and then when you put lots together, it gives the appearance that a reality is moving. But yeah, no, it's better with the screen analogy, really. But it's something like, I like, because you can't quite separate out the screen to the film that's being projected onto it. They're the same thing. Like the stillness is found in the movement. It's not that there's the screen and then the movement placed on top. They're one and the same thing, but it's a nice analogy.
Thanks.
Just now when you were talking to Shane, you said Shane is the experience. Mm-hmm. And you've said this in many ways.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just heard it. Mm-hmm. Because I think of this guy Perch as the experiencer.
Yeah.
Like I'm making all this happen. And for some reason, when you just said that he is, or I am the experience.
Yeah. And traditionally, though, in Advaita you would say, so what's experiencing that? And then there's this behind thing, but it's not actually behind.
Right.
The experiencer is everything that's being experienced, actually. It's not actually behind the character. But you'd say, so who knows the character? Or that's what they would say. So there's something that knows the character, but then it has to push forward. It's not behind the character. It's like the way that life knows itself is by the appearance of everything. It's not by something observing or being conscious of the character. But traditionally, that's how they would say it. Who's conscious of the character? Who knows the character? That is who you are. And the knower is absolutely still. Movement is appearing in it. There's not really an observer, but we're just going to go down that track now because that's what's coming out. Who knows the character? This is just so beautiful. That's God looking out. That's God that knows the character. And you are God. You've always been God.
So, am I God and the character?
And the character, yes, but we just go not, and then we go everything, because it's you take it all away, and then it's like it goes then into everything, because actually there's no consciousness. There's not something conscious. The appearance of everything is the way that you know yourself, and this is where the love side is. The appearances are how you know yourself. So the sound of Lisa's voice, the light. Even the appearance of Perch is how you know yourself. In all appearances. But what's happened in the human is the energy's got sucked into I am Perch, I'm experiencing, and I'm something in time. And when I say something in time sounds abstract, but I'm my past actions and my future actions, and what I've done and what I'm going to do. And I'm feelings and sensations and emotions and certain emotions and feelings, and that's who I am, and also what I own and have. But actually that's an experience appearing in stillness. Who knows that? There's this absolute boundlessness that knows it, that has no position. Even a little bit removed saying knows it, but doesn't matter.
I've heard people say that God or whatever uses this organism to experience life.
As the porthole, yeah.
As a porthole?
Like to look through, so it uses the body to look into this world. Like it has to, so when you dream at night, you need an object to look through. So in order to know other objects, you need one particular object to look through, whether it be a cat. It will normally be the perch body in the dream at night. So you look through the perch body at the rest of the world, but actually who you are is the dreamer.
Well, why would the dreamer need a perch body to experience the world or to see the world? I know there's no answers to why, but why?
Because, well, imagine a dream at night if you didn't have a position. Would there actually be a dream at night if you didn't have a position? Would you be able to dream? How would you move? What would move? There would be nothing happening. It has to seemingly look through one object. It's actually everything that's looking. But it's not the character that hears, it's not the body that hears, it's not the body that sees. It has to look through something, otherwise how would there even be movement? What would move?
So you said
Because
the
it's
dreamer doesn't see, the body sees.
No,
No.
the other way around. So in the dream at night, does the body see? Or hear? Or feel?
It seems like it.
It seems like it does, because that's how it has to experience
Right.
in order to experience a apparent separate world. But does it actually feel? Could a body in the dream at night feel? This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so intimate. So it uses this apparent body to be able to experience a dream, but actually it's not the body that's experiencing the dream. It's just using it in order for something to happen. So every time it touches, it's consciousness touching, if we use the word consciousness, or aliveness touching itself. And the way that it knows itself is by the touch. So it identifies apparently with one object. And the way that it can know something is by touching, by seeing, by smelling. But when we speak, it sounds like I'm explaining something to you. But I think when we speak, actually what's happening is everything's remembering that stillness. And it's not actually a movement. Just like how I'm explaining the dream, it's not actually somebody feeling. But I can feel it so well. You really understand why there's so many books called Stillness Speaks, Consciousness Speaks, Emptiness Speaks. It's like now we feel we're following the intellect, but actually what's happening is stillness is screaming. And it's not because of Lisa speaking, it's screaming as much when Perch is speaking.
I really like it when you talk about it as intimacy and love.
Because that's exactly as it is. When you see it, that it's never the character that feels, it's never the body that feels, then you know yourself by feeling, by seeing, by smelling. That's how a non-divided reality knows itself, in the very act of it. Not in the perception of it, not in somebody knowing it, in the very appearance of it. And this is where the love meets.
Are you saying the knowing is love?
It's not quite, it's not even, it's even more intimate than knowing. It's the very appearance of these sounds, the very appearance of the light, the bum on seat, everything. But we can say knowing because it's easier to speak about.
So, when you talk about the aliveness,
Yeah.
it sounds like so often it shows up through the form of our senses. And I think a lot of teachings talk about us being limited by our senses.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's also this incredible gift as part of
Yeah.
being in this being, are these capacities to have that kind of an intimacy where I can be in the glasses behind you or
Yeah.
be in your face.
It's in the senses, but also not in the senses, because actually there's nobody sensing. It just is. But it is in the directness of what's happening, in the very appearances, and the best way we can describe it is through the senses, looking, smelling, the very intimacy of what's appearing, and the way that life has to experience itself is apparently through a body-mind mechanism, but it's not the body experiencing it, it's not the person experiencing, it's life experiencing, and that's who you truly are. Boundlessness. It's really beautiful. And it's not meant to sound like a denial of the character, because the character and the body is a divine appearance. Like it's not meant to be denying it, it's just seeing that that's not your limitation, that's not your container. The person appears in it. So,
Lisa,
yeah.
you mentioned several times about the energies being sucked in or being trapped almost.
Yeah.
So it seems like that creates a lot of separation.
That's the appearance of separation. Yeah, the energy being sucked in to it narrows in on just being the thinker, just being the feelings, just being the emotions.
So that's kind of that's all experienced by the observer, right? Or by the mind, or the observer that can't really perceive beyond the mind.
Well, it all appears in boundlessness. All of it appears in boundlessness. So even the limited person that feels like it's contained appears in hugeness, endlessness.
So what's the process of experiencing more of the space, of the emptiness? What's the process, or what's the way of relinquishing those energies back into the space around and being able to feel the oneness and not the separation? Because it seems like the separation is what's being experienced most of the time for most people.
I don't know about. Yeah, seems maybe. So right now, there feels like there's somebody in that body that wants to be more boundless, that wants to not be trapped in limitation. So that feels like that's a feeling. Is it somewhere in your body? Could you point to where that feels like that person that doesn't want to feel bound? Yeah? Yeah, it does move, and I really get what the chakras are about. It does seem to be somewhere around here. So it feels like here. And that's the person that doesn't want to feel bound. And it feels like it's got emotions and feelings all mixed in with it. And so that appears. And who's that appearing for? So that feels like the experiencer. But who's experiencing that? Right now. So So that's a really great answer, I don't know, because that's the ultimate answer. But can you sense that, so if that's being experienced, that tightness, there's also a hugeness which is experiencing it, an endlessness. So there is this limitation which seems to be appearing, but the limitation is appearing in something so vast and so big and so empty. It's not an observer, it's not consciousness, it's absolutely undefinable, it can't be seen. If it's seen, it's part of that limitation, seeing it. But something that's so intimate is experiencing that bound, limited feeling.
Can you repeat that?
Something is experiencing that bound, limited feeling. And that's where the freedom lies. Right there in what we just talked about. The person's response to that will always come back with, how do I get to the boundless? But it can't get to the boundless because it appears in boundlessness and it will look forever in limitation. So this isn't an action of the person, yet this isn't something depressing and hopeless, because you've always been that boundlessness. You've always been that hugeness in which the limitations arise. This isn't logical. This doesn't make sense to the person. So the person now might be coming up with reasons and how ideas, and the whole time that's appearing in hugeness. You won't find a solution in the limitation. But you can't, nobody can tell you how this is happening, how that movement is happening. But you know what I'm talking about, you're sensing it, even though the energies may be wanting to go into the boundedness. But it's impossible to describe to someone what that movement is and how that happens. It doesn't make sense in intellectual. It's already time for half an hour break.
Can we talk about death?
Yeah?
My grandmother died recently, and it's just exposing everything.
Like
it appears that I'm the only one in my family noticing what's happening. But I just see how when one person dies, it's like the whole system starts unraveling or something. So I don't know what. I just wanted you to talk about death. It's powerful.
Yeah. So the dynamics and the flow of things are just crazy. You can never grasp it.
Yeah.
So the dynamics of what's happening in the family, or what then leads to what is impossible. I mean, that part we can never objectively look at. The only thing that's knowable is what's happening. And the only thing you can really talk about is this. And then the question that I would ask is, when your grandma died, who died?
No one.
Who is it that died? No one.
It's like an idea. Well. Like part of me, part of the idea. I think that's my experience, actually.
Yeah. But then who's you? Because that's true. It's who died is part of you. But then who is you? Because it's all in the Britta. Your name is Britta, yeah? So it's all in Britta's story. So there is the appearance of that character, the Britta character, and then all the family and relationship to her. But is that who you are?
No, it exposed that more.
Who you are is the stillness which it appears in. So one of the characters in the dream world goes or changes, but it doesn't go, it doesn't leave the story. The energy changes into something else. The ideas of that person, or not even the ideas, the appearance of that person has moved into another form, so that appearance isn't going to come again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, in another way, it's always here and always present, the grandmother. Even the mother, but not as those particular characters, as a movement into different energy, into a different expression. But you never sort out families. Life is crazy.
And I think also what died is like the part that was trying to sort that out.
Yeah. And then it's also becomes apparent of you first of all need a Britta to know the other. You always need one person to know the other person, so none of the characters are actually ever separate from each other, and they don't exist independently as an actuality. They exist as something that's always moving and changing. But the most important part of it is that nobody dies. It's all the same energy. It's only an imagination that dies. And then whose imagination is that? It goes even deeper than Britta's.
Is death forced liberation?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I can tell you what happens in death.
That sounds good.
But it was what I was describing to you earlier as well. But what happens in death is the brain, as the brain begins to shut down, then the limitations of the person that's experiencing through the senses will begin to disappear. And then all there'll be left is boundlessness.
I was thinking of, when you were talking about the senses earlier on, someone was talking about the senses, I was thinking about a person, we're here with our five senses or whatever, if you stuck on another sense that could, was really good at sensing the cheese or whatever, and like,
The what?
If it was really good sense for cheese, or a new sense, if you stuck a new sense onto a human being, and then you added another new sense until they could sense every single thing in the universe, they would kind of be the universe, essentially experiencing everything all at once. If you're constricted through all these five senses, if you were to keep adding senses onto a person until the person is just made up pure sensing, I guess, I don't know, it was like my brain was trying to do the intellectualization thing, but it was thinking that if you could do that, you would
The thing
liberated.
is there anything? But is there anything outside of this?
Is there anything outside of this right now?
Yeah. Is there a whole universe outside?
I mean, not according to Robert Lanza. But
Experientially.
experientially, no, yeah, that's sorry, that's better. Experientially, there totally isn't anything outside of this moment right now. Apart from my knowledge of Africa and space and Jupiter.
But that all appears now.
Mm. What about the universe before life? Is that like a story
Yeah. I mean, humans. So the language is a very limited part in that appears in humans. So how can they actually talk about anything?
it's very biased we're biased because of ourselves, it seems. Everything's human-centric, like the view of the world is human-centric.
Yeah. Biased by the way we've labelled things. But that's not who you are, human.
Finish the story of death. Tell us the story of death again.
Did I not tell it?
Hmm?
Did I not tell it?
Well, you said then there's boundlessness.
Oh yeah.
And
So
then I was wondering well, what's experiencing boundlessness? I mean, what's that mean?
it's so hard to communicate because I just know, but not as a character, not as. It's like I know exactly what death is so intimately. It's happening in every second. This death. It's so. It's absolute love. It's nothing to be afraid of. In the moment as the body begins to collapse, the illusion that you are limited to that will also die, and it will dissolve back into everything. I can't tell you in words.
Like I've had this sense that that's the awakening. Is then you're gonna wake up, right? Then it's like when you die, that's the awakening. Like that's when you really become awake.
When you die physically.
Yeah, that's the we're all as a body we're all thinking we're on this path to waking up but I think you have to wake up every moment. You can't just say I'm reaching this state and now I'm awake. I don't believe that. I think every moment you're choosing to direct your awareness to realize, to refocusing your awareness on presence, you said, or something like that. So I think
Is that true though, that you exist and can direct attention?
maybe as a person you can. I mean, I think everything is every moment is fresh, right? Everything's happening.
Yeah, completely
now,
fresh.
now.
Yeah.
Like if you slow that down, you're choosing. Am I going to go into the past? Am I going to go into the future? Am I going to go into thought right now?
And who would do that? Who are you? Who would choose? Is that really who you are? That one that's choosing? There's a movement happening which is saying that's who I am. Is that really who you are?
the one who's talking. I mean, the one who's talking. I mean, the one that's thinking myself as an individual person. I guess is that the one who's choosing.
But that's not who you are.
Right.
Who you are is this direct stillness.
Mm.
And in that a movement appears, and that energy sucks in and says, I'm choosing, I'm doing all these things. There's an appearance of choice, there's an appearance of free will, but that's all there is. An appearance that doesn't imply an individual entity of any sorts.
Right, but when we start talking about this, we're talking from these points of, otherwise there's no talking. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. I mean, otherwise, I mean, what would we be talking? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, how are we having a conversation?
Yeah.
It has to take on this limited form to have this conversation. Ultimately, it's not what's talking.
Yeah, it seems to. But even if that's the case, does that imply that somebody's choosing?
When I remember who I am.
But who remembers? I know it seems like I'm being a pain in the butt. But who remembers? How can somebody remember?
When that remembers what it is. I mean,
Yeah. But is that a practice?
the remembering is the remembering a practice. I guess you could call it a practice. But ultimately, there's no control over what happens. We don't have that kind of control, really. But I mean, I feel like you can direct your attention.
Hopeless.
Yeah, you just
Directing attention
no,
may
I mean,
happen.
there's no answer. I mean, it's just it's fun to talk about it. I mean, and I appreciate getting together to have this conversation. Like, it needs to happen. Like, I wanted to ask, when you're like, how do you sometimes when you're in environments with people and they're not coming from this, they're not inside, like, the path of satsang, whatever you want to call this. I mean, I don't know what you want to call this, but there is a certain frequency to this. And when you're around, and people are, say, maybe you're this cool pond and people want to, drink from your well, or something, and or whatever, like, there's, how do you not get your energy, like feel like it's being sucked from you in a way, like...
The only solution is seeing that you are all energies. You are the one that sucks and the one that's sucked from. That's the only solution. Otherwise it will always be pull, push, pull, push, pull, push. That you are the sucker. The sucker and the sucked from.
Yeah.
But to truly see that you are the stillness in which both forms arise, and that nobody is being disturbed. That nobody is being disturbed. You never ever can find solution in movement. Movement is always happening.
But there's a conditioning which goes to that response, say, right? And so then that conditioning wants to remember, like you were talking about, like I want some tools, right?
Yeah.
So and I know there's no tools in this. I mean, it just is, right?
Mm.
So I guess what you're talking about is like to remember, but then you're not. But there's nothing nothing remembering, right? But
There just is. But in that dance of feeling like you've been taken from, that there's an assumption, there's some feeling of identifying with something. There's something which you are, would that be good energy, boundless energy, positive energy, and it will just keep spinning when you're something. Even if it's more boundlessness than other people, I know, or less identification, it will just always spin when there's hooking onto one particular thing. You are that body that comes towards you. The way you know yourself is the appearance of everything. It's not you in relation to another body. It's not. This isn't a solution for more pleasure.
But it's a freedom from the suffering, from the pain of that interaction, right? It's like to know that.
No, not necessarily the freedom from the pain of it. It's the freedom from the one that feels like it's happening to them. But it still could be painful and tiring. But for nobody. That's the... it always comes back to who. It sounds like such an annoying question. I remember the annoyance of it because there's nothing to grasp. But who is listening now? Who is seeing now? Who is hearing now? Who is in relationship? And then there's this intimacy that's, I would say, remembered, but that stops being covered, even in incredibly painful situations and awkward and whatever we name them to be. You are the one that's trying to take. You won't find anything in more pleasure for the body. Although pleasure is nicer for the body than pain, but you won't find what you're looking for in more pleasure.
Like, what compels you to do this?
What makes you see me?
I mean, we're not. Are we sparring? No, I mean, what makes me see you? What makes me see you? Yeah, see, that's the acid trip, right? Like, we're all in my dream. Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
It's beautiful. I mean, I love it. I love all of you. I really, like, I'm grateful for all of you in my dream. I've had panic attacks like this, you know, like where I like, whoa, that's my fucking dream.
We will have to look at the floor now.
But like, yeah, then the floor is gone, right? Like everything that happens, it's all meant to happen because it's my dream and that's the way it's supposed to be, right? But then we have total freedom in it. Like we're like this is all like everything's okay. Like there's nothing to fear about it. And you can't die in your dream because it's just your dream. It just seems like you're gonna die. It's like seems like it's death, but it's not. Like I was saying, like you want to choose to see like you're in a scary, fearful world, or do you want to be in a happy, a good dream? Like, but you can choose what you want to see. Like I can choose.
Okay, like, choose my disappearance.
Yeah, I can.
Come on then.
No, but I don't want. But I'm afraid to disappear. I think that's why I think I think there's a part of me which is like knows that when I decide that then there isn't any more. But then how could there not be any more? Because I mean, why would I want to go away? Like why would I want to disappear?
You wouldn't, but it can't help it.
But where does it go? I mean, it doesn't go anywhere. Where could it go?
It can't go anywhere.
Right.
You were never that, and always that. You thought you were a movement, something that's constantly changing. You thought that you were something, and you tried to solidify it, but you were that was always permanent. And then movement appears in that permanence. It's incredibly scary when you're a limited piece, a movement that is going to die. That's incredibly scary.
Yes.
But you are that which is experiencing this.
You know, I think it, like, for some reason, like going to India, because I'm going to India in like a few days, and that always feels like death is going to come there. I have a fear in me, like that I'm going to die there. And I know somebody who just died there. You know, like, he had a motorcycle accident. I'm in the same place where I'm going. But I feel compelled to go there. People have said I remind them of him. So it's like, in a way I did die there. Maybe. I did. I guess I did. I mean, if we're going to go there. But I feel compelled to go back there again.
So in this moment, there's fear arising. And that's totally held in something. The person's going to try and look to get out of that fear, and it cannot. And the only way out of it is it, the appearance of it. This is really scary stuff, but there's nothing to run from because you are every ounce of this. But well, it's here. It just has to appear.
If I keep my focus on what you're saying, then I can see how my attention, like outside my attention, like is going to want to pull away from it because it's scary,
Yeah.
and I don't want to freak out and like have bad trip, you know.
But you'll never be able to escape that. It will be like the non-existent monster under the bed, always too scared to look. It's okay. You can't go anywhere.
This is why I can't be in a relationship with somebody. I mean, why I can't maintain something, because it always leads to that panic. Because when you're coexisting with somebody and it's like you're forced into seeing that I don't know what it exactly is about that, but there's something terrifying about that to me. But even though I know I probably would want that would be nice, but I always don't feel like I always feel completely alone, you know, even.
something very exciting about that idea of death. Just coming up for me, it's like with all the clinging to like society and reality and all that stuff. It's like everyone's brought back to zero once you're gone. And I was just reminded of how when I was young, I would have like lucid dreams for the first times, and they would blow my mind, and I would be like, when I wake up in them, and that feeling of relief, like, oh, you're fucking awake and this is a dream. I always remember just when I was going back to sleep or whatever, back to like non-dream, I was like, bring that with you when you wake up, or remember that stuff. Remember, it's really easy to just snap out of it, or to realize the bigger picture or something. But it kind of feels like there's always another version of me pushing myself towards that void of death, but like you said, it's too scary. It's like a bad trip. It's like the ego comes back, it's like,
I'm gonna go. I'm thinking I'm going crazy.
Yeah. It's like yeah. It's like there's part of me just like pushing, and the other part is like, I can't fucking do that.
Because nothing's going to bring comfort. There's no comfort. There's no one but you. So that's it. I mean, so no one's going to take care of you, but you.
But not you as a limitation. That's who you think you are, the limitation. You are taken care of by your essence, and your essence is that which looks, not that which feels, not that which has emotions, not that which is scared. You are taken care of. You're absolutely bathed. There's no way out of love. You won't find comfort in the forms. You won't find the mother that will be there forever, or the friend that will be there forever. But you're comforted in that which is experiencing this. That's where the love is. Never in positive feelings or in any of the movement. And it's really, really scary for that person. That deathly stillness. But that stillness is absolute love.
What about the essence that you mentioned? You said you taken care of by the essence.
Sorry?
You said you're taken care of by the essence.
The essence, which is everything. Always. Forms will always move, so the lover, the friends, they will go, they will come and go. But it's always the same energy that they transform, that the lover transforms into different forms. You never actually lose anything. There's transformation continuously happening in the world of things. But you're always inside of the liveness. There's always inside of the one that's looking through. And that's who you truly are. You're not character looking through. You're not a feeling looking through. And everything is in that looking. That's where home is. That's where the love is.
So wanting to feel that also comes from ego.
Yeah. But you are it. Wanting to feel it's in movement and looking in movement. You are it. It's right here in the very appearances, in everything that appears, in that which sees it, in the scene. And there's total stillness in that, and total love. And you know this. You know it so well. It's so intimate and close, because it is you.
Hey, Lisa, I don't know if this is a weird question, but do you, Lisa the human in time space, that Lisa, does that Lisa fear death? Do you fear death?
The body experiences fear if death is yeah, there's something that's threatening. So if a lion came in now, there would be a sensation of fear, but it doesn't belong to me.
I guess I'm asking about existential fear. Do you fear the end of your body, mind?
But then you're not talking to the character anymore. Because who would fear the end of the body, mind? The character's not the experiencer. So then you're talking to stillness again. And stillness fears nothing. Because who are we?
I guess what I'm asking is do you identify so much with that stillness that you no longer fear the end of your body-mind?
You still look at me as if I'm a person. The character, the body, will experience fear if a knife's brought out or somebody came up and.
You can't really help that, can you? So.
That will always appear when the body's there, but that's not who I am. That's not who you're actually talking to. That's not actually who's looking, who's hearing. It's the same with you, though. It's not any different there. The same looking is happening. The speaking is coming from the same place. But there's an energy which claims where it's coming from. It's coming from me and time, and that's the lie. The me and time is not the experiencer. It's an experience.
Does that mean that you don't believe in a soul or reincarnation? Because you said that when you die, you just dissolve back into that boundlessness.
Yeah, but whether the boundlessness then comes back to appearances again, I don't know. Next one, I'm boop, boop, boop. Yeah.
No, I'm sitting in this room. And I see two.
Are you?
Perhaps. And I see two of you. And
I see two of you too.
That's right. So while I was sitting here, and as we were going through the last couple of hours, there were times when I was thinking, why do I have this need to look directly at you and listen to you there? So I started looking at you through the mirror. But there was a disconnect because my eyesight was able to see you, but I was hearing your voice from this side. So it didn't feel right. But it goes back to something that Richard here asked, actually. I do experience you as a person. So that is how I experience you now. Because even though that's a reflection, it didn't feel the same to me.
Well, the question has to go back to who experiences me as a person. I'm going to be standing up in a moment. Who experiences me as a person? So there was a conclusion there, which is really perfect. There's nothing wrong with conclusions. But who experiences the one that's having the conclusions?
My deluded mind.
Could a deluded mind experience?
Not in a pure way.
What do you mean by pure way?
I'm seeing it in a distorted way. I am experiencing. I understand your point, because you're saying there's an interpretation of what's going on by my mind.
It's not even by your mind. So
there's a processing, post-processing going on.
there's a processing. There's appearances happening.
Correct.
There is thoughts and feelings and ideas. So there was the deduction about looking in the mirror, and then it feels like you have concluded that there's somebody in there that has concluded that. Actually, that conclusion has been happening in perfect stillness, and the stillness is your nature. that which is experiencing, which is no quality, but also every quality simultaneously. But what happens is there's a conclusion, and then it feels like I've concluded. And then there's this feeling that you're something that's concluded. Something. And so then it feels like there's a you there looking at me, or looking at this body.
Well, if two individuals have the same exact experience, the same exact.
But that's
situation.
intellectual. You can only come back to the experience. You will never know about two individuals. You will never know if Lisa's a cardboard cutout. You will never know if she's a puppet, or if she actually experiences. The only thing that's ever known is beingness, which is everywhere. The person says beingness comes from my body, and I'm experiencing through this body. Actually, there is beingness everywhere, and there isn't actually a position of someone looking. So there is a light, and that's as much, you can't, as soon as you begin to go into, there's two bodies experiencing here, we're into something hypothetical. The only thing that what I'm talking to is absolutely not intellectual, and it's totally experiential. So there is beingness, and beingness is everywhere. And Lisa appears in beingness, but also that character appears in beingness. That character isn't the experiencer, that body isn't the experiencer, that body and that character is experience. I forgot the original question, but we got excited.
I forgot it too. So.
Yeah.
Something about you experience her as a person.
Oh yeah, and then we forgot who we are, what we are, and then we're like, oh yeah, forget it. We're not sure what Lisa is or me.
Sometimes people talk about lucid dreaming as like a pointer, like that in the dream you're aware that it's a dream, or you wake up and you're like, oh, this is a dream. I love it when I dream. I'm in the dream. And the thought occurs to me, oh, I'm in a dream. This is a dream. And there might be some uncertainty. Is this a dream or is this real? There's a question going on. And then I'll test it. And I'll look around and there'll be some obscure detail, a little crack in the sidewalk and a straw wrapper and a little sprig. Oh, this was a dream. I wouldn't have. This is real. Because that kind of detail. This is real. And lo and behold, it was all the dream. And even the guy asking the question about whether or not it was a dream or real wasn't there either.
And then there's like a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream.
I love that. That's so funny.
That's what it is, right? We've already established that's what it is.
What you just said makes me think, well, how do you awaken from boundlessness? Where's the infinite regress? Like, the dream within the dream within the dream. But apparently it's just something you know. Like, it's...
I know what?
Like the... here I am now wanting to be enlightened and wake up or have
You're totally enlightened.
He doesn't know that yet. But playing devil's advocate from my position, from the character's position, it's saying like, oh, there's character, and then you experience boundlessness, and you're liberated.
The character cannot experience boundlessness. Cannot.
Character disappears, and there is boundlessness.
I don't know if the character disappears. It comes and goes.
No.
But the energy, it's just there's a clearing, and the energy moves back into boundlessness or something.
I just got worried there that what if when you think you've experienced boundlessness. You really are just in like stage 2 of 7.
Well, I'll never know.
Yeah.
Lisa, you said that the energy moves to the boundlessness, but that's possible even with the human body still alive.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on dreams as pointers, or like the idea of waking
The
up
best,
in a lucid
no,
dream?
the only way in which I would use dreams is to describe two things. I would use the dream to look at the idea when people say to me, "You are the reason," or something, or Rupert Spira is the reason that I woke up, and then I would say, so in a dream at night. Do you wake up in the dream? So if you met a guru in the dream and they said, you are the dreamer, do you wake up in the dream because of that character, or do you wake up because that's what the dreamer dreamed? So I'd use it as that pointer. The other pointer that I would I'm like, boom, boom, boom. The other way that I would use the dream analogy is to point out that the body doesn't hear, the body doesn't see. Which I was saying earlier, the body doesn't taste. I wouldn't really talk about lucid dreaming. I wouldn't know what that is.
So this body is appearing in the space. It's just appearing. It's always, other than dream or when the attention is looking away, this body's pretty much around a lot. And right now in this experience, there's a lot of bodies, there's the room, but the perspective is usually the perspective of everything appearing within this field of knowing is usually oriented right around
this body.
Visually, and sensorially,
okay.
Yeah.
So describe to me now that body.
It's got no head. Okay, it's the closest things to it are like the elbows, and then the feet are pretty far away. And there's sensation, but it can't really discriminate between the floor and the foot, and the foot's just an idea right now.
And so tell me, where is the position of looking? If there's no head, where's the position of looking?
Of vision?
Yep.
Where I would assume the head would be.
Well, that's a big assumption, because there's no head.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no head.
So there's no head, so how could the vision be there?
It doesn't need a head.
It doesn't need a head, but also the idea that the vision comes from there is an idea that's been maintained. So it energetically feels like it's coming from there, but it's an illusion. Your vision is in actually that which is seen. Only ever in that which is seen. So your vision is right here. Not there. That's the assumption. That doesn't exist that way.
So the knowing, maybe I just missed that.
Okay.
The knowing.
So where's the knowing then? We can go to knowing then after
Well,
vision.
there's the known, it seems, which is everything. And the knowing seems to be, would also be everywhere.
The known, yeah.
But if there's like, let's say, an out-of-body experience, it's distinctly different. The perspective,
Yeah. But I'm not talking about an out-of-body experience, because that would still be a position.
Yeah.
Often that happens in awakening, out-of-body experiences. So then it's seen that looking's not necessarily related to that body. But it's not. That's just an experience. But it comes back to the knowing is only in the known, so the looking is only in that which is seen. So looking's not coming from there, vision is not coming from there. Vision is right here. And it feels like it's coming from there when that idea is maintained, but that idea will dissolve, like everything. And then it's boundlessness. Yeah.
How do you know that the essence is love?
How do I know that? Because I am that.
But how do you know that?
I don't know it intellectually, I just am that.
That means that there's some experience. That assumes some experience.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what. I'm not
If
necessarily.
you claim you were that, that's based on some experience. Right? Otherwise, it's just a thought.
Yeah, but I don't think it. I'm just responding. I'm not sitting there thinking it. But yeah, it's just a thought. It's irrelevant now.
So you're a robot?
No, I am love. The body's a robot.
But you just said you can't. You're responding. Right?
The body's a robot, but I am love.
But that's a thought.
It's a thought now. There's not a thought here though. That's just words coming out. It's totally experiential.
Okay, so that's what it is. So it is an experience.
And not, as well.
And why do you say that?
I don't know why I say anything if I'm not speaking.
Who is it that's speaking?
It's not the character that's speaking, it's not the character that's hearing, it's not the character that's seeing. The character is an experience. But you're now trying to trick me because you want to play. You want to be better than. You will never be better than, you are all of it.
So experiencing the love and experiencing the love.
You can't experience the love because you are it.
Right.
It is. It's in everything that appears. And no one thing. You can't experience it. An experience will move. A sensation will move.
Based on what?
On that everything moves. Every form moves.
But it seems like with a character there's usually a pattern of experiencing.
The character
That's
works
predefined
in
by
the character works in patterns. The character seems to work in patterns, yeah.
Yeah. So
Just like everything really. But
so the pattern is dictated by past, what we know, what's known, and
I don't know what you mean by what's known.
what's experienced from childhood.
Yes, so in the world of movement, so there's two things happening. It's not two things, but there's this stillness in which movement appears in. This stillness, who you truly are, isn't a result of the movement. The movement appears in it. And in the world of movement, It's one thing to another, to another, to another. It's energy constantly changing into different forms. So movement reflects back oneness. It's never an independent thing. It's never an independent, fresh thing. It's always energy constantly moving. So therefore it's always one thing to another to another. That doesn't mean cause and effect. Cause and effect means there's a beginning and end. This is constant movement. So the character comes, so the characteristics are from everything that's appeared before. So it's influenced by the parents, but also the grandparents, the great-great-grandparents, the dinosaurs, the big freeze, the Big Bang. It's influenced from everything, seemingly in a stream, but it's actually a circle.
So it's always in a flow.
Huh?
There's always a flow.
There's always one thing to another, to another, to another. And so the body-mind mechanism is a result of everything that comes before. But everything that comes before isn't what led to this moment. Everything that came before appears in this moment.
But if there's no time, it's not just everything that has happened before that appears in this moment.
There's everything, all time appears here. This isn't a result of time. That's mind-blowing because we presumed that this is a result of time. It's the absolute opposite. It's just, we got it all wrong from the beginning. No. Yeah, it's shocking. Don't worry though, this is recorded. You can watch it on YouTube later. In the same moment, of course.
Lisa, I like what you just said about everything is here versus everything is now. Because when I hear the word now, I think of past and future. Because to have a now, there would have to be this thing back there. But I've never heard it said it's all here, which is very different than saying, I think, that it's now.
Yeah.
I feel like as well, the more you talk about it, it's like dusting off like an artifact or something. And I'm really worried that like it'll take 18 hours to dust it off, but we only have like this little talk, which sucks. I wish we could just talk about it non-stop until it's like a artifact that you can just like, oh, there it is.
We might be snowed in, right? So,
yeah. I've already been cancelled from my flight.
I feel like there's no words. Really, it's like the more words you use, the more ambiguous it gets.
The more what?
The more words are used, the more ambiguous it gets. Like it's really not meant to be comprehended by someone.
No.
Yeah, I always feel like these are like a process of elimination almost. It's like just shutting down, like getting down the reason side of you or something.
The what?
The reason side of you, the side that depends on like logic and reason or whatever. I always want that stuff to be killed as quick as possible, but it's like very resilient. I always want that talk to get to the point where my brain is just like, the stuff that prevents that from happening is very resilient. Pity.
Just in case your mind gets to the point where it stops, you made some notes.
Yes.
Good. Keep that fucker going.
Talk about resistance.
Awesome.
Ah, that's so good.
I have my own back. I'm going to keep that ego alive.
Just in case I wake up, I want to make some notes.
Writing down your dream,
So I
right?
can pretend I'm asleep again. I mean, it came out of his mouth. I want to talk to get to the point where my mind stops.
Hold on, I got this.
I'm kind of kid. I've actually touched on all those notes.
Good. You marked them all off?
Apart from one of them, but it was rude.
Okay.
It was.
You don't want to be rude.
I might just say it because nothing matters, but you know that dude, Ben, I've already said it to you, but that Bentino Massaro dude, like, we're just on the subject of non-dual speakers, I feel like a meeting like this can be set up, and a lot of the questions can be trying to figure out if the person who's leading the session is lying to you or not. Basically, you know, it's like a natural reaction of the human.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are certain levels of speakers who seem to be coming from a really authentic place, yourself included, obviously. And
Of course.
Yeah. Like duh.
The most.
But then it's just weird that someone would. I feel like that Bentino dude. I'm just like, he's got to be scammer.
This isn't logical. This
He's a guy who charges like $600 an hour.
But this isn't logical.
Wait, what isn't logical?
This is coming from the assumption that he's outside of you and that he's acting independently. This sounds rational to you, but it's so crazy.
It sounds rational to me that he is charging. He is like
Acting independently.
Yeah.
And that he's separate from
But
you.
he must be if his videos appear on YouTube. I mean, he's there. He's in my face.
No, you're not. You're not that face. You know that. Are you a face now?
Yeah, I feel like a dude with a face. Unfortunately, I definitely feel that now. I feel like a person.
It's because you took the notes out.
Yeah,
You had it, man. You had
But
it.
you see,
took the
but
notes.
basically the point is that there can't be a fake teacher or a real teacher. That all comes with the assumption that there's two. There's life.
I guess the ego itself is like outraged or something, or the character is outraged.
It's
And
only
that helps keeps me here.
it's only outrage because it fears the $600. It fears something it can't pay for. It fears these things. It
Well,
doesn't. It's so irrelevant,
It
Bentinho.
fears that it's giving too much time over to something that might be a cult, you know, to put it really frankly.
Yeah, but that's coming from a weird perspective. There's life. There's not something separate. Yeah. And there's not a cult out there that could hurt you. Oh, well, I did that one. Now I have to go and get my backhander from Bentinho. 10%.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like the character me wants to batten down, wants to make sure everything is secure and authentic.
Yeah.
And
what do you think? What do you think is the bit that's insecure and inauthentic? That's the most hilarious bit.
What do I think is the part that's
most
with brains?
inauthentic and non-sincere?
Is like I don't know.
Me!
Me! I guess, yeah. I don't know.
And you're like, I assure you that's what's insincere.
Yeah.
The illusion of self.
Oh It's going to take like a year for that to see.
Such a wonderful setup, because if there's a Bentino out there doing all those things, that means there's a me over here too that gets to figure it out and be smarter than that, or
And safe from
navigate
him.
it and hold it away or choose not to do it. It's all about that. That's the real fear, is this thing. It's a sham.
So really, he's actually amazing by setting me up to get obsessed with him.
Yep.
He's like the best lesson.
We all know where you're off to next. Hawaii.
That list of notes.
Isn't one.
Doesn't he do retreats in Hawaii?
Probably.
I never heard of him. What's his name?
Bentinho. What's his last name?
Masara.
Masara.
Another enlightenment teacher.
I wouldn't call him that. But maybe.
Well, that's all, folks. That's it. This is it. Thanks so much, Perch.
Yes,
It's been lovely. It's been really lovely.